the lecture will rotate, you stay. In the afternoon, there's another elective stuff, and you just go to the room and you stay. Come. Next time, it's a good idea to bring some pen and paper when you come. Okay, how many of you have done BP debating? Okay, the better question is, how many have not done it at all? Zero, no experience. All done it, right? You've done at least one or twice, or have you been to any tournament in BP style? Yes, okay, so you know the stuff. Okay. So you know the roles of the opening government? Yes? Okay, can somebody tell me the role? High school genius. You?
Me?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, what should we?
Tell me the roles of the opening government.
First government presents arguments and actually shows the line of government.
Okay, not very clear. Somebody supplement the explanation. What is the role of the opening government? Define motion, yes. What else?
Clear the status quo.
To talk about status quo. Now, let's go back and ask, what is the meaning of define motion? You.
Define motion.
Yeah, what's the meaning?
Well, the first guy should actually settle the debate. They're actually choosing on which field they want to debate about, and they're actually setting the debate. They're making the course of it, and they're setting the line of the
Okay.
of the document. So,
You can sit there. You can sit here. You have a chair. Sorry. So just to get things going. So when you define, you're looking at two things. Define terms that could be ambiguous or could need to be specified. That's the first thing. In the motion stage, over that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just going to basics so we know what we're doing, okay? But Prime Minister must define key terms if the key terms are vague. For example, the debate is about this house ban abortion. Now, that's a common debate. If you want to be smart, you want to narrow it down, where you say you want to talk about late term abortion. You know what that is, right? And that's a popular debate in America. So you have to explain what is late term abortion. Get it? And that's called defining the term. That's the first thing you must do in defining term. Second thing, like you said, is correct. You want to decide where you want to do the debate. Where? Okay, where? WH, where? Okay? Which place you want to do it? Okay? So that means this is called contextualization in my part of the world. You give the debate a context. So you ask all the WH words. Where, when, what, how, and so on. Right? So I'm going to go through it again. When you define, you have to do two things. You define words which you want to specify if it's ambiguous. Right? If the motion is very clear, this house will move out Iraq. It's fine. There's no need to define Iraq. They know Iraq. But if you say you want to move out of the Pacific zone that is controlled by let's say, the Australian group. Because in Iraq, there are a few groups of people doing different things at different cities. Okay? So you can do that. And second part of the definition, you must tell the adjudicator where and what and how, what this debate is all about. So you answer the question, what this debate is all about. Okay? It's up to you to set up the debate. What are the rules that you cannot violate when you set up a debate? What is illegal? Somebody tell me.
Time setting.
Place, time, set, truism, tautology. Do you know all that stuff? Yeah. Who doesn't know? You know that, right? So it's not a problem. So those are the 4 illegal things you can't do. Except, other than that, you can set as tight a case as possible in BP. BP is not old school style where contextualization is not allowed. This one is allowed. If you want to talk about eradication of poverty, the natural place will be third world country. But you could actually talk about the underclass of poor people in USA. You talk about poverty, it's fine, right? So they have to debate on your grounds unless it's illegal. And setting it there is not illegal. Clear? So the first thing I'm trying to tell you is that there are a lot of room for maneuver from opening government if you want to make the debate as small as possible. That is a smart thing to do. Don't leave a big gap for people to attack you from the back. Okay, so that's the first job of the Prime Minister. Then they'll give a policy, right? The policy. The policy is what to do. So before that, they'll give a problem statement. What do you want to solve? This kind of debate is called model debate. Okay? Change debate, you know that. Am I speaking too fast? Everybody can understand my English? Yes. So in change debate, you have to explain to us what is the problem you're trying to solve. Okay? So what is rotten in the state? What needs to be cured? So the medical analogy is very good. There is a sickness, and we provide the prognosis, which is the analysis, and you provide the medical solution to it. So think in that line when you're doing that. Okay? So you give the policy. The policy does not need to be down to the nitty-gritty. The guy will stand guard there, or you provide this amount from this agency. It has to be a broad stroke kind of policy done either with a very important agent. The agent could be a government, normally it's the government, or United Nations, or it could be an international organization like NATO, like EU. So there is the actor. You need to have an actor who is acting to solve this problem in the most major way. You need to have actor, and you need to have people who are acted on. Who are you targeting? Why are you targeting them? Again, in the policy setup, you need to have a lot of WH questions being asked. What is the solution? Why? When this solution will be implemented in a graduated manner, or immediately, or whatever time frame you want to do it. Who will do it? Okay, where you will do it? To whom you will do it to? So that is the burden of the opening government. You must tell us all this stuff, right? After that, the normal thing will be the justification for your policy. Justification of policy. Why you think your policy solve the problem you have articulated at the beginning. And that will be the Prime Minister's job. Okay? And you have to do it in a systematic manner with clear signposting that everybody can understand and follow you clearly. If you do that, then you've done a good Prime Minister's job. So the key to the Prime Minister's speech is you must be organized, you must be systematic, you must lay all this out in a way that is undisputably clear to the opposition. Because if you're ambiguous, they don't know what you're debating, they don't know what you're going to set, and you fail in your burden because you set up a poorly organized set of arguments, then you tend to lose debate from OG. Okay? So that's the important key to the job of the case setting. So tell me what's case? What's the case? Hamster. What's the case?
You run in a debate.
Yeah, what is it? What is the ingredient in the case?
Or arguments?
Yes, you say that? No, argument is correct. What about the argument?
What about, like,
Evidence.
you give some numbers of arguments?
So you give a number, yeah, we know that we give a number of arguments. What about the argument that make it distinctly a good case?
Logically follows, you need evidence.
Is logical anymore?
You need evidence.
There's evidence, one more. Is prioritized. Normally, in debate, you don't. It's called a principle of primacy and recency. you give the best first. That's not always true in academic writing. Sometimes you give the best last, before your conclusion, in writing an essay, or writing a thesis, or writing a term paper. But in debate, you pick the biggest gun, put the biggest gun first. The second biggest gun second, third biggest gun third, and then give your second speaker the worst. So the second speaker tend not to have the best stuff. Okay? So, and it all must come from the first speaker. Prioritize. There must be ranking of arguments that are better. So sometimes really good to come to, oh, that argument should have come up earlier. That argument should have been prioritized further. Because people tend to give the second, third argument less time. And because of that, sometimes it becomes a stillborn baby. It is underdeveloped. So when you are doing case setting for government, first government, try to put the biggest gun in front. If possible, the nuclear gun. Then will be the ballistic one. Then will be the regional intercontinental one. So that's key. Don't just put argument together. Put argument in a way that is organized to show the adjudicator you know which is the most important. Right? So for example, the obvious one about anti-smoking campaign in Slovenia will be, the first argument will be the health. So you must put that as first. You can't put something creative like it will help in crop rotation, which it does, because if you don't smoke so much, then they won't plant so much tobacco plants, right? Then they will change to other crops. So that will be something for the lower houses. Get it? So the first, when you say prioritize, the second meaning I'm telling you, you have to put the most obvious argument. Okay? Why?
Well, you have to put it out anyway.
No.
So you can debate so the opposition can prepare.
No. Don't be nice to them.
You want to show that your strongest power the first.
Yeah. Beside that, why you put the most obvious one? The obvious is the most obvious, sometimes the most important. Most of the time it is, right? It may not be always true. But you put out the most obvious, why? As opening government.
You want to judge to see that you're not stupid and you're not missing the first point.
Yeah, you want to show the judge you are not missing any of the relevant issue in this debate. If you miss out health, personal health to the smoker as the first argument for anti-smoking debate, then you are clearly not in the game. Right? Understand? Second reason. Second reason. Somebody has a guess. You want to show the judge you know enough about the topic. Now somebody ask me, sir, I don't know enough. Then I say, go back and read more. That's your daily task of research. You should know any topic that come up if you are worth your salt as a debater. Second reason is that you want to do what call, this is very important, I'm teaching you trade secret. Don't tell anybody. It's called mental grab. You want to give all the arguments that any reasonable person as a adjudicator who reads the Economist, reads the Straits Times, read the Guardian, read the New York Times, the LA Times, know that these are the arguments. So that if you do this well, the lower house has nothing to say, or nothing intelligent, or scintillating, or like a fireworks. There won't be a 4th of July down there. That's the point, right? You want to grab all the stuff. So what the Prime Minister normally do is the Prime Minister speak very fast and stick in 3 major arguments. Then the second speaker will stick in 2 major arguments and grab all the arguments. Right? That is what you should do to win. Why? 2 reasons. First, better grab. Okay? So leave them with no oxygen. Okay? They'll breathe a lot. They'll breathe carbon dioxide and die very, very sad, suffocating death as a lower house government. Okay? And you want your lower house to die. You want to be first, right? Okay. Second reason is this: if you're opening government, in effect you only have 1 debater. the second one. Is that true? Because the first person is only doing present tense. So that's why this style of debate allow the opening government to do this kind of nasty things. Because they only have half a team. Only the second speaker, who is supposed to add new argument, rebut the opponent, at the same time try to conclude the debate. So they only have one person debating. The first person is presenting. You get it? So that's why the opening government are allowed to do those things I say. Those are the trade secret. Don't be nice, innocent Jesus Christ. I love you. Okay? I'm going to do this for you. So don't set up generic cases. If the motion say this house would leave Iraq, don't just give the leave Iraq. Specify a particular place. Say this house would make all government contracted mercenary army such as Blackwater leave Iraq. You get it? You see the difference? I changed it to something very generic. Generic means general. It means you debate the motion. Try never to debate the motion. Debate your. Still early in the morning, right? Debate your case. So there's a difference between debate the motion and the case. If you debate the motion, that means you're just answering the question in the motion. Leave Iraq. Then you give all the normal, typical reason for leaving Iraq. Okay, US did a good job. There's no weapon and mass destruction. Okay, it's making worse. The objective of democratizing Iraq is not working. It is increasing insurgency. So etc. That's a normal debate, right? But if you set the case to, we will talk about getting the mercenary, the Blackwater incidents, yes, getting those people out. Then the debate has changed its entire complexion. It's not about getting out. It's about the why corporatize violence, okay, by government as a way to protect themselves should not be allowed. Right? Basically, you should not have mercenary in the country doing dirty job for you. Right? So the debate has changed. Get it? Okay, question at this point.
No question. To which point can you define something to a specific place, or where is the limit?
You told me as long as it's not illegal.
We had a debate if Turkey should be accepted into the European Union, and they defined it as when at the time when they fulfill all the Maastricht criteria, we should accept them into the European Union.
Oh, that's a hypothetical. That's a bad setup.
Yeah, can you go when something happens, or in this place, or
you can debate that as an opening or you can say, okay, that is based on a conditional if. So you said that's not possible because you're debating the future.
okay?
So you have two choices then. You can challenge or you can just debate them. It's up to you. Right? But confining it and making it small enough but reasonable enough to debate is the best strategy for opening government. Okay? What if they say, oh, you're making it too narrow, I can't debate it. What should you do? They probably ask you the POI. Oh. Then you just stand up and you actually tell them this is how you can debate against us, and you list the argument. Yeah, get it? That's the way. So you want to set a tight case, you must also set up a tight case against yourself. Get it? Then they have nothing to say, because the key is, can it be debated? If it can be debated, they have no way to challenge, to change definition. Okay? I'll give you one. Okay. This one cannot be debated. We're going to say, I'm Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, we're going to champion the cause of children. We're going to say that pedophilia is a bad thing and we must, in every occasion, stamp it out. If your government, you say that. Is there any way that the opponent can attack it?
It's
No.
always
First, it's truistic. Secondly, on moral ground, there's no way you attack it. So you cannot set those kind of cases. Things like, okay, we're going to champion self-defense. Is there a case against self-defense? Some creative people may have. Maybe maybe it's, yeah, no, we have. But I'm not sure that most people have a case against self-defense given 7 minutes of listening to it. So don't set those cases that are obvious. There are two things to talk about obvious. First is obvious in terms of factual or objectivity. That means it's real. Secondly is culturally or universally accepted to be true. Like for example, you cannot ever not condemn child prostitution or pedophilia, right? You can never attack self-defense. So don't set those cases. Many good debaters actually do that. It's the holy grail of debating, to find out the perfect case which cannot be attacked and which can be debated. No such thing. But try to sort of gravitate towards that. Set up as tight a case as possible. Okay? That's opening government. So the normal structure is you blame cure, which you all know. So the question is what to do, how to make it tight. I'm just using the American term they like. Okay? What is the problem? You. Who is to be blamed? That means you are the stakeholder in this debate. And finally, what's the solution? So my handout would have given you some ideas of what to do. How about that? So what did the second speaker in the opening government do? Okay? You spend half the time rebutting, so about 2.5 minutes at least. Don't spend 1 minute rebutting, at least 2.5 minutes. Then you continue with the new advancement to support your Prime Minister. Now very curiously, in actual real life preparation, the focus is never on the second speaker. Why? Firstly, it's not important. No. Because it's 15 minutes. So you must churn out the argument first, right? So the second speaker's job is always put in a very vague terms, like we will talk about the impact, we will talk about the benefit, we will talk about the consequence. In fact, in this format, you do not need to declare what the second speaker will talk about. There's no need. So many good speakers actually hide the stuff. They don't say, I'm going to give you 3 arguments. They're not going to say, my second speaker will give you 2 more. It's social and psychological. They won't say that. Okay? So you don't have to. But you know your second speaker has something to say. Sometimes the second speaker don't know they have something to say too. Okay? I have experienced that. I always go first and I always leave my second speaker in the lurch. The second speaker's job is to be smart enough to come up with new stuff on their own after listening to the case setup of the government. Okay? And the normal thing is, the normal second speaker speech of DPM is benefits or impact of the policy. This is the policy, these are the justification. My second speaker will talk about the benefit. So these are what will happen. This is what these are the benefits that will accrue from our policy. Okay? Or they say that if you don't do this thing, disaster will happen. These are the disasters that will happen. Okay? But more or less, most of the time it's benefit. Second speaker. And if you are in the opening government, do you want to end the debate there? Yes or no? Yes. So the second thing, if you're a second speaker of the opening government, is you want to sound like the whip. Write it down somewhere. Another trade secret. Although on paper the job is to spend 3 minutes rebutting and then another 3 minutes advancing new material to support your Prime Minister, what nobody tells you is that you have the job to end the debate. You have to sound as though you have to collect all the ideas and say this is that's why we should win. Why? Logic is very simple. Again, you got to do with method grab is taking all the stuff. Okay? Sounding as though the debate is finished is the form, the stylistic way of telling people the debate ends here. What they're going to say downstairs are worthless. Don't listen to them. The second speaker, try to sound in the summary as though you are cutting out the debate here. Don't say, oh, my second government will tell you more to let win the debate. No, you're not their friends. On the surface, you're friends, right? But you're actually competing against them. So you want to method grab, and you want to cut them off. Clear? Question. Were you taught to debate this way? No. Good. Okay. I'm teaching you the slimy, foxy, tricky way of doing things. Okay? But there's always a fine line between doing that and being too clever. So try not to be too clever. Don't set up cases that are not debatable. Okay? Don't set up cases which are so out of the way. So don't talk about this debate in Timbuktu, and this debate is about female genital mutilation in this particular tribe, called the Udu. Okay? So don't set up, although what you have researched is true, there might be this tribe and they have problem with female genital mutilation, and you want to solve that problem. It is not in the horizon and not in the radar of everybody. So don't set up those cases. So the Iraq case I said is in the radar, right? We talk about the Blackwater people. It's normal. So they can actually anticipate that if they are well trained to know that the tricky, nasty people from open government doing that. You get it? So your job, if you're not opening government, is to think of the tricky, nasty things that people will do. Okay? In anticipation of how we can support them and how we can tear them down. Question? Yes?
So what is squirrel?
Oh, you don't know what squirrel? Okay, squirrel is this. I give you an example. Classic example. I understand. The motion is this house ban abortion. So I'm Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think cruelty needs to be stopped. I think people's health needs to be harmed. So you think I'm talking about abortion? Before I go on, let me define the key term debate. Abortion is the act of stopping something. So in this debate, we're going to talk about stopping, and we're going to talk about stopping smoking. You laugh, why?
Because it's obvious that abortion is pertaining to pregnancy.
Yes, abortion is the act of an untimely termination of an unborn fetus in the womb of the mother. Right? That's the exact definition. I would change abortion to stop, because the verb, the noun abortion means that, but the verb abort means to stop, right? Or to cease to do something. So I use the verb and I say we're going to stop smoking. What I just told you is real. One thing actually did that. That's called a squirrel. That's called disconnecting or delinking what is expected of the motion and doing something else of your own. Something you prepared for. That is not allowed in debate because it's not fair to the opponent. Don't do that. And why they use the word squirrel? Very simple story. Squirrel apparently like to gather all the nuts during the summertime. And then when they gather all the nuts, they want them for themselves, right? So it's a selfish element. They'll dig holes on the ground and they hide the nuts. When the winter snowing like that, Christmas is coming, no food, dry and so on. Because they're going to pee on the nuts, they know where they are, they'll dig it up and they can survive the winter. So to say somebody's squirrel is to say that somebody has illegally decoupled the meaning of keywords in the debate. That means change it and do something of their own to benefit themselves. And it's not debatable. Many good teams actually debate squirrel. Why? Can you debate abortion? Can you debate smoking debate? Yes. So many people will say that, Speaker sir, although they come with a squirrel and we think it's not fair to us, we as a good opposition team, and we want you to have a good debate, we're going to debate against the squirrel. So most teams will actually take the decision to debate whatever things they come up with, while bitching about, complaining about them being a bad team. Okay? It has two effects. Firstly, it makes you look good because you're actually debating them. Secondly, it creates a better debate because challenge debate is horrible. Right? You know what's challenge debate? It's horrible debate in. So no judges want you want to listen to challenge debate. So if you don't, you will save the day by being Superman and coming and say, "Whoa, we'll debate the squirrel debate." Then you are actually doing the favor to the judiciary, and you'll be viewed in very good light, right? So who looks worse in this debate? The opening government. Who looks best in this debate? Opening opposition, right? Thanks for the question. One more. Okay. Why don't you think back about all the time you have to set case and some of the problems you have when you ask me now? I'm not following the notes because the notes is generic. I want to teach you nasty tricks, so I'm giving you the tricks. So those things I told you are not written anywhere. They are your secrets. Question? Yes.
At this point, how far should you go with your flag, for example, as an opening government?
Okay, like I said, how far? Ask yourself, you are the Prime Minister. What did the Prime Minister do? The Prime Minister say, let's say you want to stop teenage abortion. No. Let's say you want to reduce teenage abortion, right? So what will you do? What does the Prime Minister have in his hand? He can deploy the Ministry of Health, right, to do certain things. And he will give this funding and he will say that he will do this thing. That's good enough. You don't have to say, we will do this and this other doctor, Doctor Who and Dr. No will do this thing. Like I said, it's written there, don't have to give exact detail of what the policy is. Just imagine yourself as Prime Minister making an announcement of a policy and what to do. That's all. Broad stroke. Okay? Now I'm going to say something crude. The job of the government team is to cover your backside. So you won't be attacked. Now think of yourself as a knight in shiny armor. You have a sword, right? The opening government don't carry a small shield, this small, okay? You carry a big broad shield like that. Okay? So a lot of stuff is sort of contextualized out of the debate. So what you want to debate is this small area, this knife going to kill them. So think of that when you're opening government. Okay? We try to I'll give you an example of how we can do it. Okay? Now, this is a real case in Malaysia. How's this did? And they won. They were OG. They won 9-0 in the grand final of the 2005 World Championship. Okay? The motion was this how is the corporal punishment in school. That means spanking. So they set up a very detailed case. Spanking cannot be done by the teacher who was angry. So they avoid abuse. Spanking can only be done by the discipline master. Before the spanking, the parent must be informed. After the spanking, the kid will go for psychological screening to ensure that he's not traumatized. And the spanking is not done in public. The spanking is done in a room. And the spanking is done by the person of the same sex. Why you do that?
Well, the same sex thing, because what if it is you have, for example, female teacher for mostly male group and stuff like that.
I don't get it. So that's a small point. But you listen to me, the setup is very tight. It covers all the potential attack by the opponent. So what's left is whether or not the process of education entails some kind of physical regulated violence, and whether or not this kind of violence should be institutionalized in the school system. So they narrowed down the debate so much that what is left was it's become a philosophical debate. You get it? So the debate end up debating the justification and not the feasibility. Now many teams lose because of feasibility. Or the practicality issue. So if we get it out of the way, say we're not going to talk about this, not about that, But you must give reason. Later on, if they ask you why don't we talk about this, you must have reason to say why these things you don't want to talk about. Okay? Just that any good government, they would think way ahead and think of all the questions you're going to ask and all the potential problems that are going to come forward before they set up a policy, right? Same thing. So it is not something that is uncommon. People do that all the time, right? So cover your backside when you're opening government. Try your best to put in all the conditions which will focus you to debate what you want. Okay? The philosophy, the justification. So the opponent can then attack you on issue of feasibility and practicality. Because the first question always in the debate is, where's the money going to come from? Right? UN, can UN do it? UN is such a big bohemian and it is under the thumb of the USA. Are you sure they can do it? So many people question that. Right? So try not to be so hazy or so amorphous about which agency you want to do. So it's very clear. Okay? So the keyword is to make the case as tight as possible and not generic. Okay. Why am I spending a lot of time on opening government? Like I said, because that is the key to case development in the upper house. And people spend the most time researching, looking for good cases around the world. I'm sure Steve will tell you that. Okay, his whole life is spent doing that because that's what they do. There's some style of debate, there's policy debate. Are you in policy debate?
I used to be, but now I do this.
That's what they do. They think of argument, they think of cases and so on. Now, let's for the next 20 minutes talk about opening up. Opening up job is much simpler. Right? It's a process of denial, basically. It won't work and it's wrong. That's it, basically. Because your job is to react to the case of the opening government. You do not, okay, I repeat, you do not need to have a counter argument. Secondly, you do not need to have a solution. Not counter argument. You don't need to have a counter proposal. You don't need to have a counter model against the government's case. And you are allowed to run what I call rebuttal case. What it means simply is you can just put a nice French bitch about what they say. That's it. And if you cast enough doubt in the head of the adjudicator that what they say is not true and not workable and will make things worse, then you win. Okay? So the how many line of attack in the if you are opening up, first is you deny that there's a problem. Because they give you a problem analysis. You see that's not a problem, right? And what do? You say the problem lies elsewhere. Then you explain the problem, where the problem is. Okay? Like you see, we want to ban junk food in school. So of course the government team will say banning junk food is good, it will reduce the number of kids consuming junk food in school, and that's the main problem why they get obese. They say no, that's not a problem. They eat outside at McDonald's, outside the school, right? So you deny the problem, right? So second way is you accept there's a problem, but you deny the solution works. Simple. So you explain why, although that is a problem, what you do will not improve the situation. In fact, you can say what you do will exacerbate. The word exacerbate means to make worse the situation and lead to worse consequences. Now, there's some people who say status quo is fine. Now, a rebuttal case is different from status quo is fine. Rebuttal case is just basically complaining about them. Okay, that's the first strategy. The second strategy is status quo is fine. That means you are basically defending the current situation, and you say the current situation is better than what kind of change you're about to make. Get it? Because most debates in parliamentary debate are modern debate. They always give you a change. Okay? Change. Clear? Now, so you can say that there's no need to change. Status quo is fine. Then what your case will be, this is why we say it's fine, and you give your reason why. Okay? Now, is it possible to attack the problem, the solution, the justification, and the benefit all at one go?
Yeah. No, not that time.
Yeah, not advisable. Attack one, everything falls. Because everything starts with a problem, right? If you attack the problem, that's not a problem, and you can show that's not a problem, then because there's no problem, there's a different problem, then the solution won't work because the solution is supposed to solve the problem, right? You get it? So you can attack the problem. If you agree the problem, attack the solution. Then many of the time, when you attack solution, it will be about feasibility, okay, practicality, right? Get it? Now, if you do that, you convince them. Who doesn't want the world to be at peace, right? Who doesn't want to have harmony? But world peace does not come from bombing Iraq, right? Afghanistan. You want democracy. Is democracy gotten by the use of force, right? Which is what American proposes. So that if you show that what they propose is idealistic. So the word normally used against is they are idealistic, and you are the realist. Or they are myopic. You are the clear-sighted people. Okay? So use things to distinguish yourself. Or sometimes you say, yes, your problem will be solved in the short term. But what about the long term? Right? Or you can say, yeah, your problem will solve a small problem for a small group of people. For example, you want to have gay rights. You want the gay married, have kids. Yes, so it's good for the gay, the minority. Right? What about the rights of the Christian majority? What about the rights of the religious against homosexual? Right? So you can say that it's solve a small problem. They prioritize a small group, but it harms the greater group of everybody else. Right? So you use the harm principle. Or you say that yes, your problem solved, your group you targeted, but write down. Have you forgotten this other target group that you left out? Because in debate, there are many stakeholders. So let's say the debate is smoking. Okay? The obvious stakeholder is a smoker. Then you also have the passive smoker in a bar who serves you. Then you also have the economy that employs a lot of the tobacco industry people. Then you also have the, what else? The tax, yes. Then you also have the healthcare system. So one of the clever ways to defeat the opponent is, yeah, you solve all this problem, but you forgot this group. And we say this group is significant enough to defeat your policy. Right? Then you say the principle is, you cannot just be unequal, you cannot just be focused on one group, you have to be focused on the utilitarian principle of having the most people, okay, at one time. So those are the arguments you can use as opening up. Okay, so opening up job is much simpler. So let's talk about the detailed job for the first op. The first op must spend at least 3 minutes talking about the definition. Do you agree? Do you want to expand it? Let's say you confine it to Iraq. And you think it's a clever strategy to say, let's talk about Iraq and Afghanistan together. Because the actors, the same, American acted on them, and they did almost the same thing in these two countries. So if you want to talk about Iraq, say you want to talk about Iraq as well as Afghanistan. That's called expansion. That's not a challenge, okay? You can expand the scope of the debate. Because the job of the opening government is to try to confine it, narrow it. So your job is to try to, oh, why? Yeah, because you're trying to accuse him of being myopic, short-sighted, only focus on a small problem. You forget the bigger picture, right? So your job, the first speaker, is to comment on the setup. Whether you agree, disagree, what you want to add on to, and so on and so forth. Okay? Then after that, you must spend at least 2 minutes rebutting. 2 minutes. And you name the rebuttal. You want to rebut against this point and this point. Signpost. Okay? Tell people what you say. I'm going to talk about this thing. I have a problem with 2 of the arguments. The first one is this one is the second one. Then you repeat the argument. You take it down by giving your own reasoning. Okay? And after that, you go on to talk about what is your stand. Okay? What's your stand and what is your case? What do you want to talk about? Okay? And you just go through it as though you are doing a normal job as a government with all the reasoning. Okay? That's normally the job of the opening up. But the opening up must do something clear. Say this word, try. Try to repeat this word every time you're opening up. Clash. It's not good to have a parallel debate where you talk about apple, they talk about oranges. It doesn't meet, right? So the job of the opposition is to clash. Okay? And you have to clash against the case they brought forth. Don't clash against the motions. Because if they narrow it down, they will give you a specific case to debate. So you have to debate against the case and say that if they say we would ban junk food in school, you say no. Okay, then your first op will say we will not ban junk food. So it's a clear opposition. You must state that clearly. So your objective is to ban, and these are the reasons. My objective is not to ban, and these are our reasons. So that will be a clear clash. Sometimes opening up forget to do that. They just give all the argument, and then say, what the hell are they standing for? Where do they stand? Right? So if they say we'll ban smoking, we'll ban junk food in school. So they say I'm going to take the paternalistic stand for kids. Kids do not know what's best for them. We the government know, and we the school know. That's why we take this fatherly stand. Then the opposition, no. The government should not be the father of the children. The parents should be the father of the children. So we say that you should leave it to the parents. We object. So you give a broad stroke way of thinking to the opponent. So the adjudicator will know where you're coming from when you give all these arguments, which will be tied up to the main objective. Okay? Second speaker of the opposition job, same thing. You must advance the debate by giving you reason to oppose the opening government. And just like the second speaker of the government, the speaker must also sound as though they want to end the debate there. Why? Because they want to be first and second, right? So they draw a line. He spoke. So they want to be first and second, right? So if they debate very well, they matter grab, okay? They fought very hard, and those arguments stay in the mind of the adjudicator. Then first, second ranking go to them, right? Get it? So this is the sneaky thing you must do. Okay? Don't be generous to the lower house, okay? And try your best. Let me summarize this a bit. To method grab, try your best to prioritize, okay? And try the best to set case that are as narrow as possible within the confine of the rules of the illegality of the debate group, okay? As government do, okay? Opening up, find one place to attack them, whether a problem, solution, or justification. Okay? Attack them very hard to cast doubt. There are two strategies. A rebuttal case, basically complaining, or to say status quo is fine. You do not need to have a counter proposal. You could, if it's very obvious. Okay? Any question? Yes.
For a pure rebuttal, if you agree with the problem, can you tell them, well, that why don't you cure it with this? This is more efficient than your cure. Doesn't that kills their cure?
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're not saying that this is our position, this is our solution. Okay?
It has to be mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah. So you're talking about counter proposal, right? If you want to have counter proposal, it must be mutually exclusive. Get it? You understand the point, right? So it's both ban smoking and public education for smoking. They're not mutually exclusive, so you use public. So that's why we don't advise counter proposal. It's very hard to come out with a counter proposal in 7 minutes, which are mutually exclusive, so smart and so instinctively clear to the adjudicator. Okay? It's very hard to come up with that. Unless the case is obvious. I keep using the word obvious. Why? It must be obvious to the judge. Your job is not to be so clever that you go above the head of the judge. Yeah, because you go ahead, he doesn't understand. You are Plato, you are Aristotle, you are too smart for me. So they will give you the loss because they don't understand you. Right? Your point is to have a touchstone. The touchstone is they must understand you. And then from there, you lead up to bring them to unknown territory. Where creatively you bring them. And you try to convince them that what you say is connected, is normal at the same time creative. That's the point. So don't go above the head, don't speak in language you don't understand. Okay? And the best language is the language of system, that means clarity, organized speeches, okay? And the speeches of sincerity. Okay? You must sound earnest, you sound like you want to win the debate. Okay? And more or less, if you do that, most of the time you wouldn't be last. And you probably be first, second, or third. Okay? Last question. No question? We will take a break now. You come back here at 10:15. So you have about 18 minutes break. Thank you very much.